Ladies and gentlemen, I really enjoy interviewing people. Yesterday was so great. I really had a good time with Maurice, the native patriot. Did you guys enjoy that interview? Well, they're continuing because finally got BX back on the show. That's right. She had some emergencies. Not like she wasn't flaking on me, okay? She wasn't. Or was she? You weren't. I half expected. I sent you a message earlier, and I'm like, "Are we good? Did anyone die?" I have a morbid sense of humor, but I'm glad no one did. I'm glad that you're
Yeah.
finally able to make it.
Yeah. No, I literally did have like 2 deaths in the family, and then my ex-husband's truck broke down, and then and then a vacation, just all these things. So I do apologize. It was like
No, stop it,
stressful
stop it.
month.
It's fine. Well, it's stressful in real life, and then on your online life. I mean, everything was just kind of happening all at once. It felt like
Yeah.
for you. So
It's been like that for like at least since about March.
I can
Yeah.
imagine, but as someone who's been following you for a long time and the amount of energy that I've seen you put into um not just the 764 combating them, but like online, I mean, I don't even not bullies, but like just the shit on the internet that exists and the things that you've been fighting against, the like
Yeah.
Twitch and like I remember your Twitch battle a long time
Oh,
ago. That's
that
kind
was
of
the
how I
last time I came on, huh?
yeah.
Oh,
That was
wow. That was
so
a long time ago.
right, and that's kind of how I stumbled upon your work, and I'm like, you've been fighting for children and online safety essentially for years now, and it's gotta feel good that you're finally seeing something happen, especially with the 764. The FBI are actually doing something about it, and then I don't know if it's bittersweet that there's now conservative Con Inc. is like starting to talk about it, like, wow, there's this stuff that everyone should talk about now, and you're like, I,
Yeah. Or they're like, "Why isn't anyone talking about this?" And I'm like,
right.
hello."
Yeah,
Yeah.
hi, I've been here for years.
I mean, I'm just happy that they're talking about it and at all. I mean, yeah, I know what you mean when you say conning. Like it's just like the kind of the grifter community, which
Yeah,
you can't that's what the goal always was though, right? For me to get the information to more people. And so I can't be
true.
complaining when people, um, report
The
on it. Of course,
information's getting out there,
yeah. Sometimes they
so
report it all backwards and weird, but we deal with it and then
true.
yeah.
Yeah, well, you wrote a great article on your Substack that you sent me earlier to read, and it's just very very well rounded, and it was about this new case with Bo Carr being 14 years old, which is crazy to think that you know uh, kids as young as 14 and possibly younger are being affected by this. I have a son now. I don't know if you
Mhm.
knew that. I
Yeah.
He's 9 months now, and
Oh.
I'm reading this article, and I'm in Sweden, so and you reference this
Oh, I
Swedish
didn't know
case.
that. Oh,
Um,
there's a lot of this in Sweden. I'll
yeah.
send
Oh, I
you
know.
the SVT documentary that they
Yeah,
made.
I saw part of it. I didn't watch all of it.
I didn't
But
either because they didn't have an English translation. They did the AI translation just for my specific segment so I could share it, but I wasn't able to watch the rest.
mm, I wonder if we can have AI change that,
Yeah.
because I don't have Swedish down. I can
Yeah.
understand a little bit of it, but
They said they were going to,
I know
but
where this place is, right?
mhm,
I know where these spots are. It's north
mhm,
of Stockholm. There's
mhm,
a spot that's really bad north of Malmo. There's a spot that's really bad. Even in the city that's closest to me, there is an area that it's not like it's dangerous, but it's where a lot of the immigrants live, and
mhm,
they
mhm,
just don't assimilate, and that's really the thing. They're just kind of like, yeah, well, we're gonna live here and make it our own little version of like where we escaped, and it's
mhm.
like, well, what do you do? Like, what's the point of that? I that's the worst part is the lack of assimilation, and then you have this kind of shit where
Yeah.
kids are
I I'm trying to remember the Swedish case. The kid wasn't Middle Eastern. I think he was from Bosnia.
Okay.
Which is like where we see a lot of this. Actually, like Eastern Europe is where we're seeing a lot of this stuff come from. Bosnia, Serbia, Ukraine. And so, yeah, that's not surprising to learn that I think he was Bosnian, but in Sweden. But he was 14. Again, we're talking about a different person than the kid in Oregon. We're talking about the 14-year-old in Sweden who went on a stabbing spree. He had actually contacted me a couple times and kind of like bragged about
the kid that
spree.
did the stabbing. Contacted you.
So that's I'll send you the documentary that SVT did, the translated version. It's actually on my Substack.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll look for it.
And I talk about it, and they show.
Well, how long is the segment?
I was like 3 minutes.
Can we watch it right now?
Yeah, sure.
I have your Substack up right here.
It's the SVT Sweden documentary on 764. 3 minutes.
764 English translated clip. Okay, awesome. Let me pause this real quick. 3 minutes. Okay, yeah. Let's watch this. Give me a second while I add this. I haven't seen this part of it. I remember actually starting to watch the actual SVT doc and not being able to understand it, and that's why I didn't watch it.
They made this specifically for me so I could share it. So
that's cool. All right, share screen. Video. Okay. Sorry. Okay.
I'd love to share that clip of me shooting. It's like
okay, they only have the subtitles. They don't.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So because of the way the audio works, I have to mute my. I can't hear you while we watch this. Okay.
DMs at some point, and
Texas, USA ägnar Becka Spinks mycket tid åt att bevaka
nätverket. Based.
Hon är ett välkänt och kontroversiellt namn i community.
Slane had actually slid into my.
By the way, those links are in the description below if you want to support it. Okay. Anyway,
Twitter or X DMs at some point, and had tried to get me to make tweets about him and tried to get my attention. And this was prior to the stabbing, at least prior to the main stabbing that got him arrested. I didn't really go back and look at all of it until after the stabbing, because there wasn't any reason for me to go back that far. But when I went back and searched his messages in the channel, it seemed like he'd been bragging about his attacks for quite a while. And that's what originally clued me into the fact that he may have committed other attacks prior to the stabbing that got him arrested.
Den 20 juni, nästan 3 månader före knivdådet mot Lennart, dyker det här meddelandet upp i en telegramkanal. Några timmar senare skickas ett nytt meddelande med Slanes signatur.
He was basically saying that he was intentionally targeting elderly and vulnerable people.
Vi hittar ytterligare 7 klipp på överfall, varav ett knivdåd som delats på Telegram. Genom att jämföra landmärken i videoklippen med satellitbilder och streetview-bilder ser vi att alla klippen har filmats i samma område av Hässelby.
Wow.
Vi ser också hur Slanes alias och 764-propaganda har klottrats runt om i förorten. Allt pekar på att dåden är utförda av Slane.
So Slane sent me a DM on X, basically looking for attention is how I interpreted it, saying, hey, what's up? I'm some kind of a Tobbs 2.0. Tobbs being a reference to another teenager who went on a stabbing spree in Romania a couple of years ago.
Taubes, a German member based in Romania. He was known for extreme violence, including fatally stabbing an elderly woman and live streaming the attack.
Taubes är alltså en tysk 764-anhängare som dömts till 14 års fängelse för mord i Rumänien. Det var honom Slane jämförde sig med när han kontaktade Spinks.
Slane most probably saw Taubes as his role model for everything he did.
Now looking back, it's actually kind of chilling to see that he sent me those messages right before he ended up actually going through with it and stabbing some people.
When did this happen? Give me 1 second. Let me remove that. Okay. Yeah. When did he message you first?
It was sometime last year. So, you know,
Okay,
I
last
guess, yeah, to give some background on 764 and this group that I've been looking
Please, thank
into.
you.
Because, you know, people come like, you know, I feel like everybody knows about it by now, but obviously there's always people who kind of haven't heard yet. And so I had started looking into these mass shootings and noticed how that some of the mass shooters were being like kind of groomed in chat rooms and Telegram channels and stuff. And then I started to notice that those communities that were grooming kids to be terrorists intersected with the child sexual abuse groups that I had been researching. And so that's kind of where I noticed this specific satanic cult called the Order of Nine Angles. I started to really focus in on researching the Order of Nine Angles cult, and it led me into all of these very dark spaces, one of them being the 764 network, which is an online cyber criminal community that focuses on extorting kids for sexual content and self-harm. They're basically, the goal of 764 members is to get these kids to do the most horrible things on camera they can possibly imagine. The worse stuff you can get the kids to do on camera, the more notoriety you get in the group. And so, you know, all the way up to having people commit suicide on live stream, teenagers who've actually objectively, verifiably died on camera in some of these groups. And so it's pretty dark. It's the darkest thing you can imagine. Obviously, they're also trying to get members to go out and commit crimes like graffiti, you know, vandalism, assaults, murders, mass shootings. And so that's, you know, where I started to report on this. Everybody was like, she's crazy. This chick's insane. And I'm like, no, I'm, you know, for months or like years, I was like, I'm not insane. And I'm going to keep talking about it because eventually you're going to understand this is that, you know, there's more to it. Like there's more to the story. And so I kept kind of going with it. And as I continued, before I got like a lot of recognition for it, I had drawn the attention of a lot of these criminal members. They were really mad that I was talking about them. And so they would DM me on X. They would threaten me. They would constantly trying to figure out where I live, trying to swat me, threatening to kill and rape my kid, all kinds of messed up stuff that I've been the victim of, you know, for lack of I like literally have been the victim of criminal complaint in the criminal complaints against these guys because of their threats against me. And so that's where that 14-year-old in Sweden who went on the stabbing spree, he had DM'd me and tried to brag about being a Taubes 2.0, which Taubes was another member who'd already gone on a stabbing spree. But I'm so used to getting messages like that from those guys that I don't want to give them attention because they're usually looking for attention. They're like hoping I'll post about them, but I don't do that. So, you know, I ignored the message, but then he did go out and stab a bunch of people. So I was like, well, holy shit.
Where's he now? Is he in jail or?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure he is. He was sentenced to something several years, but I mean, he's a juvenile. So, you know, I don't know what they do in Sweden, but hopefully they have better interventions than they do for kids here. Cause you know, the system is terrible. This 14-year-old just goes into the juvenile system and comes out even more fucked up. Worse. So, And so it was very similar to the 14-year-old who was just caught in Oregon, who you're talking about. The FBI.
Carr.
Yeah, Bo Carr. He was a 14-year-old. He had a plan to shoot up a mall in Washington. In my opinion, it was a good catch by the FBI because you know they got a tip about him in early May. Started investigating, figured out who he was, got a search warrant. And when they searched his home, his family's home, they found that he had been collecting gear, planning out his routes of attack, planning out exactly how he was going to go commit the shooting. So this kid was a ticking time bomb. He was really going to go through with it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, also the parents had left unsecured firearms around the house. So it was a pretty good, pretty good catch there. If you don't want to know how these things happen, because most people, they only hear about mass shootings after they happen. And then obviously, and then they go, how does this happen? And I've been trying to show you. I've been trying to show you for like 2 years what's going on before that. And for the past probably 3 years or so, almost all of these mass shooters have been online in these online communities being radicalized, especially the very young ones. Obviously there's some crazies out there who just go crazy, usually the adults. But as for the kids, they're almost always in these chat rooms getting radicalized and provoked. And
it's hard for me to imagine. I mean, my kid's 9 months, but it's hard to picture like these parents that aren't involved in their kids' lives, to the point of like knowing what they're doing online and where they are. I mean, obviously I can't necessarily blame the parents, but my instinct is to be mad at the parents for not being a part of it. So, but I don't know.
We'll just wait till that kid gets a little bit older and you're going to understand, right? Because my daughter's, she just turned 8.
Right.
And she's already, she can navigate the internet like nobody's business. It's scary how fast and good these kids are at technology. And, I will say,
you posted about it and you said that you've done a good job because I don't remember exactly
that
what
was cute.
what happened.
So she has some little game that doesn't actually have messaging capabilities, right? It's just like some Chinese knockoff of Fall Guys. But people can friend request you and they'll add you to lobbies because it's just a massive multiplayer. So you just do the Fall Guys thing.
Sure.
There's no message. It's safe because there's no messaging ability. But anyways, so she doesn't know that. So she was like, someone's friend request. This guy wants to be my friend. Ew, he probably wants to kill me or something. Blocked.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Like,
I was laughing
good
so
instincts.
Yeah.
Like you can't trust anyone online.
Well, I've told her from very early age, there's no difference between a stranger on the street that you don't talk to versus someone on the internet that you don't talk to. You don't know who that person is. They could they could be pretending to be kids. Now that's at a younger level, right? You're still scaring them with the stranger danger stuff, but as kids get older, it's gonna be a lot harder to kind of to keep them keep that leash tight. You don't want to necessarily like to be too overbearing. It's much better to educate your kids about sextortion and educate them about these things, and also be monitoring as much as you can, because I've seen a lot of really, really healthy homes fall victim to this, and parents who've come out and been very brave and spoke to the media about how they literally had no idea. These predators, what they'll do is they'll find these kids, like let's say they find a 14-year-old girl on X and she's in some of these kind of fringe communities, and they start talking to her. They realize she's depressed already. Maybe she's already cutting herself or something like that. Then they'll start the grooming, right? They'll love bomb them, make them feel like they're their boyfriend or whatever, get nude photos or something. And now it's like, I've got your nude photos. You have to continue to comply with my requests, or I'm going to show them to everybody in your family, get you in trouble. And so they will go as far as to ship packages to these kids' homes with razor blades and costumes and stuff. And the whole time, they're also instructing these kids on how to hide it from their parents, because the kids are terrified. They don't want to get caught. So it's less about like, oh, how did you not know your kid was in these? Because they're trying real, real hard to keep it from you, And so, it's easy to say, oh, that would never happen to my kid or my family. But to be honest, I think most of these families who've been victimized have probably said that at some point. It's one of those things where if you're complacent, you're being negligent, right? Or if you think that you're, this would never happen to me, so I don't need to take any action, you're wrong. One of the biggest pieces of advice I give to parents is you're not gonna be able to monitor your kids all the time, right? They're going to go to friends' houses. They're going to go to school. And one of the best things to do is at an age appropriate level, you start teaching your kids how to protect themselves and how to stay out of these places, and show them what sextortion is and what it does. And just like you would teach them about strangers on the street, kidnapping, STDs, whatever, right?
Yep.
You want to show kids
Yep.
what the consequences can be. And, on my Substack, I have a free article too that talks about warning signs that I think all parents should be aware of, these warning signs that your kid's being sexually extorted or harmed on the internet. And so little things that you can kind of keep a lookout for and kind of say, hey, something doesn't seem right. And it's easy to say something doesn't seem right with my teenage girl, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's pretty tragic stuff. It's really, really sad.
I'll just grab that. I'm just gonna drop it in
Mhm.
chat just in case anyone wants to check this out. This is her Substack, and this is what she was just referencing, the warning signs. And it's just called warning signs, correct? I believe
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
probably what it is. So, yeah, check that out. Well, what is going on with this group of guys that have big accounts that are absolutely coming after you and calling you what is going on with that? Like, I don't understand.
I honestly, I have no idea. I've
Really?
sat and racked my brain about it.
Yeah.
Why? So, back when I was like kind of, I don't know, like a low level Twitch streamer, I was doing these MK Ultra deep dives and stuff, right?
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
a little
sure.
bit less, even though I was exposing some serious stuff like the Twitch Predator Network, right? I didn't
Mhm.
have a very big following base. And so it's really easy for some of these like leftist people like Destiny and stuff to like make me a little project to harass me and like troll me and stuff. So I'm kind of used to that, right?
Mhm.
But since I started saying, okay, I'm not going to do the Twitch stuff anymore, I'm not doing drama, I'm not doing political commentary, I'm not rage baiting, I'm literally just doing this one thing, and it's like
Yeah.
advocating for like child safety in a non-political way and minding my own business, then it becomes very confusing when people start attacking me with like smears and stuff. And I think that fortunately for me, it didn't work. In fact, it might have backfired, right?
100% it did. Oh, yeah,
Because
absolutely.
people were like, why are you trying to silence this? It's like the Streisand effect, right? Why are you trying to
Yeah, yeah,
silence this person? That's weird,
exactly.
you know?
Yeah, and they
So,
had big accounts. It was like one guy with 300,000 or something. Like, I don't remember their names at all, but because I didn't know. One of them was actually following me, and I'm like, who? He was one of the worst ones.
the Misfit Patriot guy.
That's
I
it.
can't
Yeah,
say his
that
name
dude.
without laughing because he's such a loser, but like, that
I
guy
saw a
is,
picture of
yeah.
him today. I don't know if you're gonna like this or think it's gross. I think a little bit of both. Um, one of my mutual friends, that he posted a picture. He's like, check, get a load of this guy, and it was a picture that he had posted of himself, like his face, but behind him is a mirror, and he's standing, and it's just he's nude, and you just see him from the back end, and it's just like
He is
gross,
a
gross,
I don't
dude.
want to like
So bad.
I'm not trying to like but I mean like it seems to me like he's very much an alcoholic like troll.
That
He
makes sense. That
he's
makes sense.
trolling a lot of times, but
Yeah,
again, why troll me? What did I do? Like so I guess the whole thing started with this guy Kyle Seraphin who's like this ex
yeah, that's
FBI
another
guy.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so this is how it started, okay? I was scheduled to go on Sean Ryan's show.
right.
Yeah.
Okay,
And,
okay.
I had bought my tickets and I was really, really excited. I'd been keeping it quiet and everything. But then, suddenly his producer reached out and was like, "Hey, we have to cancel it for now. We'll call you like sometime next year or something." I'm like, that's very
Yeah,
disappointing. And also, can I get a refund on my tickets because like I
right.
spent $1,000 on it? Um, and they were kind of being standoffish, kind of being dismissive. And I was like, that seems pretty unprofessional for Sean Ryan. Like it seems like Sean
100%.
Ryan's would be a lot more. Um, so, anyways, I didn't really think that much more of it. But then all of a sudden, this guy, Kyle Seraphin, who's a FBI whistleblower, he starts to suddenly just attack me out of nowhere. But the way he attacked me, it wasn't like, hey, you don't have any credibility, lady. Okay, fair. I mean, I kind of do because I've been featured like in like 7 or 8 different international news projects, but like sure, I don't have any FBI experience or law enforcement background, but instead of doing that, he told me that 764 wasn't real. It wasn't a real problem. Nobody cared about it. The children who were victimized were statistically irrelevant. And he said all this stuff on
Wow.
X. And so, you know, maybe you could have gotten away with this like 2 years ago when I didn't have that many people following me. But now it was like people were really mad. They were mad
Yeah.
at him. They're like, you can't gaslight the whole internet and tell us this child predator ring doesn't exist. And why would you do such
Yeah.
a thing?
Well, that didn't
So
age well either, right? I mean,
no, so
a
then
couple
he
months
got
go by.
attacked. Yeah, so he got attacked really hard by like various online communities because it's not just me who's been talking about 764. Like there's a lot of, you know, other more fringe communities that have been like Kiwi Farms that have been on it for a
Yeah.
long time. Those Kiwi Farms, like those people are like autistic geniuses.
The
They don't play
autists, yeah.
around.
You don't
Like
fuck with
so
them.
so, you
Mhm.
know, when those guys get on your case, you're, you know, maybe don't let
Mhm.
that happen. So those guys attacked him and he blamed it on me. It became this whole thing. I separated it from it, but there was like several other people that also came out to attack me that were relatively high profile, and all of them just got bodied one by one. Like it
Yeah.
was just like KO, KO, KO. Nobody was having it. They were like, "You're gonna let this girl speak," you know.
Hell yeah.
So
W's in chat
yeah,
for the internet autist.
yeah,
We're
and
coming
because
to the
of
rescue.
that, like so Kyle then he got really mad and he admitted to having gotten me kicked off the Sean Ryan show. He said that he had directly talked to the producer. He had this voice message he left a friend of mine, and my friend sent it to me. He's like, I think you need to hear this. So and it was basically like, I know where she lives and she better watch out. Real crazy, unhinged stuff.
What the
And he was
fuck?
saying that, you know, yeah, the producers called me and I told them, don't have her on. She's crazy. Nothing she's saying is real. There's no credibility, this and that. And what's ironic about it is that if he hadn't have done that, I would have never known. And no one would have known that I got booted from Sean Ryan because I wouldn't have said anything. The only reason I
Right.
said anything was because, like, hey, now I'm
You
being
get
gate kept, like
confirmation.
hard. And it's weird,
Yeah.
right? And then the funniest part about the whole thing is that right after this, after all these different communities are like attacking these people for attacking me, then Dan Bongino comes out with this announcement that the FBI is making 764 its priority, and he
Right.
starts retweeting it, quote tweeting it, and I'm like, there's no way, because I guess Dan doesn't like Kyle Seraphin. So I'm like, is it
Okay.
possible that this beef like actually lit a fire under the FBI and got them to like do, you know, the thing is, here's the truth. And I said this to some film producers earlier today too. The FBI has cared about 764 in these online groups for a while. They've been on it. They've been making arrests. We've been following it. But they're just now starting to posture about how much they care about it and how much of a priority it is. It's always been a priority, but now they're posturing about it being a priority, which was great because it had a serious chilling effect in the community. It got everybody scared and nervous. All the criminals started going, oh shit, maybe we should delete our accounts. So it was definitely, stressful getting attacked like that by those people, but also it boosted me and it boosted the message and it got way more eyes on it than I think Sean Ryan show would have. So,
well, without the controversy, right? I mean,
right.
well, it feels like he owes you an apology, and like I think
I feel that way too, but I'm not holding my breath. In fact, they kind of stealth unfollowed me on Twitter during all of this. Yeah. Because I agree.
We'll just let that blow away.
Yeah.
It's so lame.
Because the other thing is, Sean Ryan might not really have that much. He might have really let his producer take the lead and do a lot of stuff. He might really have had no idea about any of this.
I think that's probably the case.
Yeah. But in that case, and I'm willing to believe that's possible, but in that case, they still owe me an apology. Like, come on, man.
Agreed.
And honestly, it sucks for them because they had an opportunity there to have me on their show like a week before all of it blew up into international news.
Right.
So, and I guess it was good for everybody else, the public, because we got to see a little glimpse of how maybe the way they're picking their guests isn't exactly honest and organic, right?
Yeah,
if you can have
true.
These controversial people in the background gatekeeping important guests, then you got to wonder how authentic the show actually is, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. I know that, and I'd like to believe that there has always been some agents that have been, good and moral, despite how corrupt the FBI has seemed because of, the Biden administration. In fact, on this channel, many times there was different operations that were the FBI were enacting that were saving children that were being
Mhm.
trafficked around the country, and I would actually talk about it fairly regularly, enough that like I know that there was good eggs in the FBI, right?
Mhm.
Um, so I don't know if it's changed much. The whole Epstein actually killed himself conversation that Bongino and Cash are coming out, and everyone's like, "What do you mean? We were told for years the camera was off."
Mhm.
I don't know. That aside, I feel like they do seem to be trying to, I don't know, have the FBI seen in a better light because I think most
Yeah.
people don't see the FBI as something worth saving.
I mean, restoring trust is huge. They need to restore
Huge.
trust, because
Mhm.
and I used to be one of these people that was like, we should just disband the FBI. But now that I've been in the middle of this, I've seen these people who I've like worked on and investigated. I've watched them get arrested. I've watched these people make arrests, and
Yeah.
from the outside
I
looking
see you
in, to
post
me,
about it.
yeah. So to me, I'm saying, well, I couldn't do this by myself. The local police are like, there's no way the local police can handle this kind of international, global pedophile network, right? And the
Yeah.
FBI is honestly, I've seen them do some really, really great stuff. The thing about it is, though, that like you said, there are good people in the FBI, and most of them are in the crimes against children units. Like, you don't just you don't just become a special agent in crimes against children unit without actually caring about that stuff. They care,
Good point.
and they want
Yeah.
to see these guys go to jail because it looks good on them too, right? And they get to save kids and everyone's happy. So there's no
Yeah.
reason
It's a good purpose.
and the problem is that they take all of the resources and funding away from those guys and put it towards stuff that's probably less urgent. Like we saw that with all the J6 prosecutions, right? They were,
So true.
yeah, going and arresting and prosecuting grannies for trespassing instead of
Mhm.
tackling international pedophile networks that are right there under your nose. And so hopefully that's what they're doing by making this public and posturing about how much it's a priority, is trying to restore that trust. Because I know that for me personally, when I first stumbled upon this pedophile ring, and I had called the tip line and said, "Hey, I have evidence that this person, that Kyle Spitz, the guy from the viral video who got shot in the ear, I'm like, I have evidence that this guy's part of a pedophile network." And then once I escalated that to the tip line, and then once I started to report on it and get a lot of like virality reporting on that one specific instance,
Mhm.
his friend who went by the name Acid, real name is Cameron Finnegan, he came and started threatening to kill me, right? And if you don't remove all of your tweets in 30 minutes, I have your address, I'm gonna have someone come shoot up your house, kind of like serious threats, right? And I was scared because I didn't like, at this point, if someone says that, I would laugh, but it that sounds bad. It All threats are serious, okay?
You would laugh it
um
off.
yeah, but all threats are serious. But I've just been in this game for so long now that I kind of know what's real and what's not. But at the time, I was
Sure.
really fucking scared. Like, I was like, oh my
Yeah.
God, what have I got myself into? So I called and made a police report with my local police. They called me back and asked me to come into the police department in person to file a report. And when I got to the police department, it was the FBI that was there.
Interesting.
And they
Really?
were like, "Yeah, I'm so and so with the FBI. Come back and let's talk." I'm in this first 48 room with the FBI. I'm like, "Holy shit!" And they looked at me and they said, "Do you understand how serious this is?" And now I was like, "No, what the hell?" you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
but yeah, it was very, very serious. And so I was able to give them all the information I had on my threats. And this kid ended up being a 19-year-old in the UK named Cameron Finnegan, who was arrested a couple of months later, sentenced to 6 to 9 years, which doesn't seem like a lot, but he was
What was the
sentenced in the
charge?
UK. Production or possession of child pornography, and then he'd also was in possession of a terrorism manual, which was basically how to kill people in mass casualty attack with a car ramming. which is actually not really a crime in the US to have those, but you can't possess that in the UK in most parts of the world.
Okay.
I wouldn't possess it here either. I would not recommend, okay, because they're going to use that against you for sure. But there it's an
Sure,
actual
yeah.
crime. And then he also was tried to get a girl to take her life on live stream. They had the evidence of that, but they were unable to prove the girl had died or not. And so they did like a charge. It was like encouraging suicide. And then he was also planning to murder a homeless person who lived near him. He had like all the plans ready to go stab and kill a homeless person. So yeah, the kid was fucked up. He was like,
Wow.
he
Yeah,
had like
yeah.
several charges, but
Clearly.
when the judge was reading off like at the sentencing, it was live streamed, and the judge was talking about how he had an ideological commitment to Satanism. All of these things that pointed to him actually being very, very into the satanic aesthetic of the group. It is an overtly satanic group. Then the judge was reading off like file names that like he was caught with, and one of them was like BX's face when I'm done like raping her kid or something like that. And the judge just read it off like complete flat, like British tone.
And
I'm
you're
just like in
watching it
shock.
live,
I'm like,
and you're like,
whoa.
that's me.
So yeah, his threats and the stuff that harassment of
Jeez.
me were in his criminal indictment. Yeah, it was just crazy. So it's very serious. Anybody who says this isn't serious is lying to you, and also probably a bad actor.
Yeah.
Because why? And I think that's why people were so mad at Kyle Seraphin, because I had an opportunity to get this message in front of millions of parents, which could have saved lives. All parents need to see this, and there's no reason why someone would want me to not talk about this on their platform. Like,
What
right?
is the reason why? What, like, I can't fathom it. Like, what? Because
I
it's
don't know. I've
obviously
gone through a lot
real.
of, I have a whole
I'm still
Substack about it.
just trying
I
to
have my
figure it out.
theories. Well, I have my theories. Like, I think for one thing, his like his grift is
Yeah.
trying, like the FBI is bad. The FBI is bad, 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 bad. Nothing they do is good.
Okay.
Therefore, anybody
Right. He's
who's
a
doing something,
whistleblower.
yeah.
Okay.
So therefore, anybody who's doing something that the FBI is corroborating is also bad. So I think he might have just was just attacking everything the FBI was doing, and maybe he decided maybe he just could have sat that one out. Maybe just ignore the one that they're getting right, because that didn't seem like a very smart move on his part. He lost a lot
Yeah.
of credibility.
Well, I didn't even know who he was. I'd never heard of him before. So he basically started at zero with me. And that misfit patriot guy also.
That guy's so funny, dude.
It's you say you can't say his name without laughing. His posts were ridiculous. I remember like
it was so funny.
I was like, what the hell's going on here? Like, oh, he follows me? A block because of like the shit that he was saying. I was like, yeah, I don't even want this person to be able to communicate with me.
Well, no, what happened was that he commented on my post about Kyle Seraphin, saying, because I wanted people to know I don't like drama. I'm not trying to harp on drama, but like I wanted people to know this guy's gatekeeping me. Okay, this is some suspicious, weird stuff. And he posted something like, "You sound crazy and unhinged, and he sounds completely normal," or something really ridiculous. And he was already getting like, ratioed in the comments. And I was like, hey man, there's still time to delete this, bro. And he said, he said something like, listen, you don't want to start this fight with me. I'll turn you into a weekend of trolling. And it was just a copy pasta. It was like a Team U Navy SEAL copy pasta.
Yeah.
And so then that started to go around and people were making fun of him. And then somebody tweeted the actual Navy SEAL copy pasta at him. And he fell for it, made like a 6-minute video about how he didn't care. And oh man, it was hilarious. He made a lot of videos about how he didn't care. So it was entertaining. That part wasn't very stressful, because at that point I already knew this was, like things were already working out for me.
I'm glad that the internet has got your back.
Me too.
Your authenticity, and your passion for saving kids and for fighting against this really shines. And I think that's what people see, and they want to support you. In fact, a
Thank
lot
you.
of people have been just excited to see you on the show. They were like, "Oh, that's awesome! It's been a while," and really support her work. I think Lord of the Ree actually, yeah, Lord of the Ree for two says, "BX, thank you for all your hard work exposing the accelerationist movements and literal satanic pedos. Is that man-child Kyle Seraphin still making up rumors and clinging to Alex Jones's coattails?" I didn't even see that part, but that's funny.
Yeah, you know
But
what?
we
He
kind of
really
covered that.
I mean, he went like he was straight up defaming me. Like I had
Yeah.
lawyers reaching out to me and being like, "Hey, let me know if you need like free legal advice." And like, cause like open and shut, there's 100% chance you would win it because he was, so at first he was sharing these like dumb fake videos of like my Twitch streams clipped out of
Yeah,
context, the nurse
and
costume one.
fake AI images of you being like an OnlyFans model or
Yeah,
something.
there was
I
also a
remember
fake
seeing something
OnlyFans
like that.
picture. Yeah,
Right.
it was like say it was like an OnlyFans page and it said, "Here are my nude photos," and it was completely fake. So I
Right.
was like,
And
"Yeah,
they
this
were
is
sharing it
crazy,
like it was
dude."
some sort of an own, and it's like,
Yeah. And
it's not
yeah,
even
I thought,
good.
what's
It's so
crazy is like
fake.
what and you know what? Like the thing is that I've always been attacked for this, but like when I was on Twitch for years, like everybody had a Patreon, right? Everyone had
Yeah, yeah.
Patreon and we would do like little photo shoots, but nothing sexual or anything. And then like when OnlyFans came on board, like when it first started, it was
Yeah.
like they were going hard for Patreon people to
Yeah.
try to convert
Well,
them.
it
Like
wasn't porn.
no,
It wasn't supposed to
so
like, yeah,
yeah.
OnlyFans
But like most
originally
others,
started. Yeah, it was
I
just
had
another
an
Patreon.
OnlyFans and I was using it to replace my Patreon. But then when the porn hit, which is actually what happened was that Tumblr banned porn and OnlyFans
Mm,
immediately was like, "We host porn." And it was like, whoosh. So then
right.
everybody like me left because we couldn't be
You're
on the
like,
platform
yeah.
anymore. But now it's like, holy shit, man, we got baited and switched because now people are like, "Well, she had an OnlyFans back then." I'm like, dude, find a nude photo or shut up.
You're right.
Then they couldn't
Exactly.
find a nude photo, so they started making fake nude photos and fake stuff. And the pedophiles actually made that. So
Of
that
course.
means the fact that he was sharing that means that he was like either talking to those people, you
Right.
know, and so the
In
implications
those
there were pretty
networks.
wild. And then he
Was
escalated to
that Kyle
saying,
or was that Misfit Patriot?
Kyle, yeah, well, they both did
Interesting.
it, yeah. But
Hmm.
then what Kyle did, there was like several known 764 members or like people associated with Order of Nine Angles who were publicly telling him all these lies about me, and he was just reposting them. So now you're just reposting people who we know are terrorists.
Right.
And one of the
Wow.
things that one of them said was that like, oh, we know that she has CP on her computer. And so then Kyle started accusing me of having CP and telling me that he was going to get me investigated by the FBI, which doesn't make any sense because aren't you an
The
FBI
FBI
whistleblower?
that he can't stand that
Yeah.
can do no right.
No, it
What?
was all so ridiculous and poorly constructed because like you've been around for a while. You've probably
Yeah.
seen some pretty good smear campaigns that actually did
Oh,
the
yeah.
trick. Okay. We both
Yeah,
have.
oh, yeah.
And this one was so sloppy. I was like, if somebody really paid you for this, then they deserve their money back, bro.
Makes
It
me
was so bad.
It really makes you wonder, like, what channels is he in, like, or what is he actually
It's like a lot of
protecting?
deflection, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. There's no
And
such thing as pedophile networks. Get away, crazy lady. You're like,
yeah.
what?
You're
Well,
like,
you
wait a
have
minute.
CP on your computer. I'm like, are you projecting? Like, what's happening right now?
I was about to say the projection
Yeah.
that I've seen on the internet is wild, and there's
Yeah.
so many examples like oh my gosh. I what is that? Posting L's. I forget the site. I muted them because ever
Oh,
since
I know what you're talking about. It's like a
monetization.
furry or something.
Well, it's just no, it's a site. It's a X account that would post like
Oh, yeah,
someone's
yeah, yeah.
crazy hypocrisy. I
And
muted
he
them
ended up
because
being some kind of weird
oh
fetish
yeah,
thing,
that's
right?
right.
Yeah.
Well, that wasn't even what I was bringing up,
Oh,
but yeah, but that did end up happening. I mean, many such cases, I'm
yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
But let's steer away from
Yeah.
that and let's bring it back. We're talking about the FBI though, but you made a really good point about how the FBI is perceived. And it was essentially like, there's the meme, the Bart Simpson meme, right? Where he's sitting in the
Mhm.
glass, say the line, Bart, he was on our
Mhm.
radar, and everyone's, because the
Yeah.
FBI is like aware of these things. And it's either people are attacking him for knowing about it and not doing anything, or going after him for, not embezzle, entrapment, and
Right,
like,
right.
I don't know,
Yeah.
like goading them. I mean, which they have done. Look at the Gretchen Whitmer case. I
True.
don't know if you're
Yeah.
familiar
In
about
a
that whole
different
thing. So
context, but yeah,
correct, right. I mean, so they
like
are
a political
certainly
context. But yeah.
exactly, the Biden FBI versus Trump FBI looks completely different.
Mhm.
And I mean, I'm sure like the people that you were mentioning that are on the child unit that are going after these predators. I don't think they don't even give a shit about the politics. They're like, we just need to save these kids.
Right.
Like that's how the
Right.
energy I
They're not
feel.
in there grooming kids and sharing and extorting kids for CP. That's crazy. I've seen that, a lot of people are like, well,
Exactly.
how do you know? I'm like, because I have seen these people have DM'd me. Okay. Like
Right.
you've seen the DMs these people send me. They're absolute idiots. They're
Yeah.
kids. They even the ones who are adults, they live in their parents' basements. They're complete social rejects. They never
Yeah.
leave their houses. These people are not FBI agents. They are just the dregs of society. And I honestly think that the part of it, when people really harp on that, like, oh, the FBI is behind all of it. And it's like, I think that at that point, when someone's so fixated on that, which is kind of ridiculous, like if you think about it at all, it's ridiculous. But I get so many people who like really push that narrative. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I wonder if it's just that they don't want to admit to themselves that this kind of evil actually exists. Like it's like, no, that can't be true. It's got to be some kind of conspiracy cover up. But the fact of the matter is that like there are people out there who are very, very sick. There's
Yeah.
people out there who are sick enough to convince other kids to abuse other kids, right? And other kids are capable of doing really dark, evil shit. And that's hard for people to understand that a child could be capable of something so horrible.
Yeah.
And so I think that a lot of it is like they don't want to admit that people are actually capable of this. When it comes to like the Whitmer stuff and all of those things that are objectively true, right? But I actually have a an article on Substack about this called "Known to the FBI," and the thumbnail is the Bart Simpson meme. So go check that out if you haven't already. But where I talk about the reason that most of these people are known to the FBI is because the reason they're on the radar is because they've already been like people like me have already been reporting them and saying, hey, this person's escalating to violence. This person's going to commit a mass shooting. And a lot of times they don't have the resources or even the authority to do anything about it. So for example, the shooter was a 14-year-old. Where was he? It was a more recent school shooting, and my mind is going blank, but he was known to the FBI because the FBI had visited his house because there had been an IP address associated with his house that had been making mass shooting threats. However, when they got there, the kid's dad says, that's not us. We're not doing that. The kid says, I'm not doing that. And the FBI goes, well, they don't really have enough evidence to get a warrant, right? And so they defer it to the local police and they say, hey, you need to monitor this kid. And the local police deferred it to the school and said, hey, you need to monitor this kid. And the school did nothing. The fact of the matter is, though, that, if he was making a school shooting threat against his own school, that's not in the FBI's jurisdiction. They had no choice but to hand it over to local police, who then dropped the ball. And so a lot of times they're saying, well, he was known to the FBI, and that's true. That's because there are systems in place that kind of catch these kids. Like, for example, me and my crew, my small little skeleton crew of researchers we've had our fingers on the pulse of this thing to the extent that we can predict a mass shooting before it happens and theoretically stop it. If we can do that as citizens, so can the FBI, right? We just
and I'm
needed
sure
to
they
point
do.
them in the direction. This is where you need to look. I had actually prevented a mass shooting or at least a murder back in January of last year. I saw a person on X who was in one of these radicalized communities screaming about how he was about to go on a shooting and kill his ex-girlfriend. And I escalated that, called the DHS Fusion Center. And I said, I have this concerning X account, and I think this guy's literally about to go kill this girl. within 12 hours, the FBI from Alabama had called me and said that they had caught the kid, got the victim to safety. Well, I say kid, he was like 25. And he was actually sentenced to 3 years for cyber stalking, like just a couple months ago. So
Wow.
the system worked. It really did. I saw something, I said something, I escalated it. They acted really quickly. They got the victim to safety. They found him mobilizing to go commit a murder or attack, and they put him in jail, and now he's in prison.
Wait, this was early 24?
Yeah. His name was
Wow.
Kenneth Hoover. He lived in Alabama, and the girl actually, she said that she was his ex, but it seemed like he'd been stalking her for years and harassing her for years. Unfortunately, what was really interesting about that is that in the criminal complaint against Hoover, I was anonymous and she was anonymous. It just referred to the anonymous citizen who tipped the police off, and then it referred to the victim. Well, she was searching his name for information on the trial, and she just happened to find my tweet about it. And so she DM'd me, the victim, and said, like, she was like, you saved my life. And I'm just like, holy shit, that's crazy, right? And then she told me that she's going to law school to be a victim advocate now because of all of this. So it's kind of a happy ending.
What's that? What? Oh, a crowd is going wild. That is like gotta feel amazing, right?
Crazy. It does. It's like, damn, dude, we are actually doing something. Like I feel it's the same way I feel with like 764 tweeting about stuff and getting people's attention has led us to arrests. There's been a time when a high school girl saw my post about 764 and messaged me to say one of these boys is in my class. And he had showed us a Discord server that looked just like this. And I didn't even know what it was until I saw your video. And we caught one just like that. So raising awareness and getting these stories out and getting raising awareness on these harmful online networks is really, really important. It's important in so many ways. And also to get, the information to parents on how to protect their kids, information to local jurisdictions, local law enforcement to kind of understand, like the 14-year-old in Oregon who was mobilizing to the mass shooting the day the FBI stopped. Bo? They said that he was on the radar. Yeah, Bo was on the radar too. His classmates had reported him for posing with a gun on Snapchat and talking about being homicidal. It turned out to be an airsoft gun, so there wasn't too much they could do, but they did kick him out of school and force him to be homeschooled. But then the police and the parents, they didn't do anything else. They just dropped the ball on him. And it could be because they weren't knowledgeable about these online radicalization pathways enough to say, hey, no, there's something more concerning going on with this kid, Yeah,
wow. Someone called you a Cylon. You're predicting the future.
It's crazy to see how we can kind of stop. I mean, there's been other stories I could tell about other potential mass shooters that we've escalated and stopped. But if we can do it, then the FBI can do it. And I think that now that they're looking in the right places, because we've been screaming at them for so long to look in these places, and now they're finally doing it. So now you're starting to see a lot of news about thwarted mass shootings, and that's why.
It's awesome. I wonder how many mass shootings could have been prevented had they been allowed to actually stop them,
Almost all of them, probably, because again, you're talking about like they're all known to the FBI, right?
Right.
They're all in these communities that we know to be like very, very scary. But the other thing that I'll say though about the dissonance that people have, like, oh well, like I was saying, if there's a mass shooting, they're like, why didn't the FBI prevent it? And then when the FBI prevents it, they're like, well, maybe they set it all up or something. They just can't give them a W. And I kind of understand that too,
I saw those theories, I like the Vegas shooting, like that one's
well,
weird.
that was a different one. Okay. That one.
No, I know, but like that's one of the examples of like why people could think that like maybe they set something up.
Sure.
Because that's
things just don't make sense with that one.
Weird.
That
Yeah,
one was
exactly.
weird. There are other
Mhm.
ones that are weird too, but this
Sandy
one,
Hook. Sorry.
yeah, there's other ones
Excuse
with
me.
a lot of unanswered questions.
I didn't
But
say that. Don't sue me for $1 billion.
these ones that we're starting to see now are like one, like some of them are people who've messaged me, you know, and we're
Mm.
actually like I've heard of some of these people before. I've seen them in these communities. But what I was going to say is the other part, flip of the coin, and I talk about this on my Known to the FBI article, is that you know, people will say, well, why didn't the FBI do more to stop these people? And it's like, well, hold on, because you don't necessarily want to give the FBI more authority, right? And the
Right.
thing is that like in the case of Bo Carr, the reason there was an FBI agent in there chatting with him, and of course, I'm making an assumption here because I don't have all of the evidence yet, but I'm just drawing off what I know already. When they have to go in and talk to the kid, what they're doing is somebody already made a tip and said this kid's planning a shooting. So then an agent got in there and said, and like kind of tested him to see how serious he was about it, right?
Right.
Like, are you actually is he actually going to do it, or is he just edgy posting? Is he just joking? Because there's a pretty high bar to get a search warrant like that. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of it's First Amendment protected activity. So a lot of people on Twitter, you know, they'll see somebody screaming about like, you know, kill all XYZ. Protected speech. That's protected speech. You know, you can actually go pretty far with your freedom of speech in the U.S. We don't want that to change, right? But that's a barrier to them, because a kid can be talking about mass shootings, how much I love mass shootings. Columbine is so cool. Oh my God, I want to be just like them. And that still might not be enough for them to actually take action. There has to be a plan in place. They have to be able to show that there's a conspiracy to actually go commit a shooting. And so that's
Yeah.
a barrier that they have. So that's there too.
Well, that's a tough subject because
Mhm.
I don't want it to change freedom of speech and the Constitution. It's one of the most important documents ever created, and man, I mean, yeah, we need to keep that. And so it's a delicate dance, I guess they have to do because
Mhm.
they don't want to overreach, but they want to save these kids.
Right.
They know if
But
it
then the people on the right will make the argument of like, you know, why didn't they do anything? It's, well, do you want to give them more authority?
right.
No, of course not. It's like, again, this is lose-lose scenarios that you just can't. They won't accept any kind of win or any kind of
Right.
compromise, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Well, we got to give them the dubs when they get it, and
Mhm.
they're certainly doing that right now. I mean, actually taking out this Bo Carr guy. I mean, and that was a huge W,
Mhm.
and raising awareness right now. Are you happy with Bongino's job or like what he's doing over there and
I mean,
Cash
I don't
Patel?
really I'll be completely honest. Like
Yeah,
I live in like a tunnel.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. Okay, all right.
so when it has to do with
Tunnel
764
vision.
and that kind of stuff, then I pay very close attention, and I am happy that he came out like gun swinging. Like, we're gonna
Yeah,
attack.
yeah.
It doesn't matter how anonymous you think you are. We're gonna find you. I'm like, damn. Because you know, that psychological tactic too we saw it disrupting the networks in real time. We saw people starting to sweat and get scared. That's great.
True.
They start messing up. They start going
It's
away.
awesome.
When it comes to
What
other
we
stuff
need.
politically, I have no idea. I'm not really into politics.
So really, it comes down to awareness. We need more people to be aware of these groups that are that are online. They are trying to infiltrate people's kids and manipulate them. Parental awareness, like parents need to understand that you can never um, be complacent. Like you said,
Mhm.
you always have to be aware that anyone can be manipulated, and I it's freaked me out, because like I'm in Sweden, I'm reading your article, and I'm just like, holy shit, like a
There's
little
a lot of
14
them
year
that
old.
haven't been arrested in Sweden too.
I know, yeah, Sweden's got a lot of issues about this.
Yeah, seems like
There
it.
there's been an insane amount of like grenade explosions in Sweden. Yeah, it's
Crazy.
wild actually. But it's always in these specific areas. It's north of
Mhm.
Stockholm. not in Stockholm, not in Malmo. It's north. It's in these certain areas where, I'm not like blaming immigrants, but it's the areas where they're all living, and it's like
Yeah.
gangs are a big thing in those areas. So
Yeah, and
yeah,
you bring up another point, which is that, all of this stuff is global too. So the people who are like, the FBI is behind it all, I'm like, I'm pretty sure the FBI is not behind this person in Moldova who was plotting a terror attack. Like,
right.
these are like this 14-year-old Canadian kid. I mean, like it's definitely an international threat. And I
Yeah.
say the US is obviously up there, probably number one in terms of how many members are here of these
Well,
groups.
there's
Um,
350 million
Right.
Americans.
Yes.
There's like
But
almost
yeah,
10
so
million
and that's why
Swedes.
it's so weird that to find 5 or 6 of them in Sweden. That's a
Right.
lot. And then, but Eastern Europe also has a really, really big problem.
Yeah.
So, like the stabber from Sweden, he was a Bosnian immigrant, I think. And
Not surprising.
yeah, I mean, Eastern Europe has a whole lot of problems. And you just saw that did you see that mass shooting that happened in Austria?
No.
There were like 10
When the-
kids killed in Austria. It was like they're one of the
Damn.
only it was like the 4th mass shooting they've had there in like 50 years or something crazy. That just
Wow.
doesn't happen there. But I'm still waiting to get information, but the police did announce earlier today that they had found concerning materials in the house. So we don't know what that means.
I
We
can
might get
only
more
assume.
information later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you walk into a room and there's the satanic symbols that the 764 is using, and it's like that's
Wouldn't
probably
surprise me at all.
yeah, a cop walking in on that's going to be like, whoa, what am I what is this? Especially if they're completely unaware of these groups that are online.
Mhm.
So well,
Yeah.
let's take a breather from that. It's been about an hour. I try to do about an hour interviews. I see you're still doing artwork. I'm glad you are, because it
Hmm.
seems like you
You just
really
did this
enjoy
one
it.
the other day.
That one's cool. Oh, the little one behind you. Okay,
Yeah.
that one's cool.
Also
Well,
this one's
I'm a
good.
big fan of space,
Mhm.
and you're always doing the cool space stuff. That one's cool. I like this bigger one actually with like the
Yeah.
orange. Yeah, burnt orange is one of my favorite colors, so that one kind of screams to me. It's space and burnt orange. Yeah, I'm a
My
big fan of that
daughter
one.
asked me not to put that one on Etsy, but I told her I had to. She wanted it in her room.
You're not gonna put it up in a room?
Yeah, well, maybe. I don't know if she might throw something at it on accident and like but yeah, no, I probably will let her. But
How
I
much do
tell
you
her not
sell
to.
them for normally?
I mean, they range in prices. This one is, I think, listed for 375. The little one,
Cool.
I think, is like 150 or something, and I have some cheaper ones
Nice.
on there too. Um, I don't really know what to price art at. I think it just depends on what people are willing to buy. And
Yeah.
honestly, I have been selling out like crazy. So I'm actually
Good.
sold out, except for this one I just made because I sold out. So I'm making a bunch more right now.
That's awesome. Good for
Yeah.
you. That's great.
It's definitely a release. Like you have to balance out all this dark energy with like this dark destructive energy with
Yeah.
something like creative and positive, right? Something where you're creating. I
Oh
feel
yeah.
like it helps me balance out a lot of that negative energy that can take over in this kind of work if you're not careful.
Yeah, I believe it. And well, last time that you were on the show, you had well, you were a competitive shooter. You hurt your shoulder, but think you posted a little bit about like doing some shooting again. Are you going back to the
Yeah.
range?
Yeah, no, I've
Okay,
been shooting again. I've been doing a little bit of competitive
nice.
shooting again.
Yeah,
Probably go
yeah.
back this weekend. It's summertime, so it's like really hot,
Mm.
but
So it's too hot, you're saying, to be out there.
I mean, you're only shooting the short matches that will be done by lunchtime.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Because you'll get sick from the heat out there. It's like no shade, 108 degrees,
Yeah.
miserable.
Chet Chisholm for 2 says, BX, what is the best source to share for your work and the best way to contact you? I'm going to try and put the bug in Viva Fry's ear. No promises. Awesome.
I would say X to DM me. If you want to spread my work, Substack is where all of my work is like collected. So you don't have to see me shit posting on Twitter and kind of like rummage through. I do a lot of
Yeah.
that. So currently
In the
trying to take a little
description.
break, but
Yeah. In the description, you can find her It's not a link tree, but it's basically your link tree.
like a
I
link
don't
tree, yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember what it's called, but you can
Beacons.
find there it is. Yeah. I have your X account, and then I what else did I put? I don't actually remember. Let me see. Oh, it's just those two. It's the beacons and
Yeah.
then your X account. So
I think
you can find
Substack and X probably the best places.
there it is. RMR for 2 says first. Okay. Western Civilization for 2 says, "What's up, hot stuff? Good to see you too, BX." Hey now. Thank you. Appreciate that. Shucks. Stop it. It was a pleasure to have you on again. I mean, you're always welcome on the show if we want to maybe just talk about like things that are happening. That's usually what I talk about on the show, is just kind of like the general happenings of politics or culture or whatnot. We don't necessarily have to dive into 764 death cult satanic pedos on the internet, but I am
Yeah.
really I don't know, I was gonna say proud of you, but like, I'm really grateful that people like you exist in this world.
Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you for doing all this
I
work.
mean, things are looking up, I have been kind of taking a break a little bit, trying to relax. I get overwhelmed with DMs. So
Yeah.
I'm so sorry if I don't respond to someone's DMs I actually said it. I like kind of strengthened my DM settings because I was like just getting too many. And it
Yeah.
was I feel bad for not being able to answer them. So I'm like, okay, well, you need to pump the brakes because I'm a mom. I have a full-time job, The weight of the world is not on my shoulders. I have to tell myself this like several times a day, right? Like if I can't stop what I'm doing to pay attention to this tip right now, the world's not going to end. And so I have to be better about not being so hard on myself when I can't do as much as I want to do because I've been doing too much and it's been at the expense of my personal health and, my personal life and my mental health. They're just too stressed out. So, but things are definitely continuing to go. There's I've been getting flooded by filmmakers and people from film people who are like pitching to Netflix and stuff for 764. There's 50 different projects getting pitched and all of them want to talk to me. And I don't even really know what to do. I'm like,
wow.
I don't know
Okay.
bro. Yeah.
Interesting.
So,
I wonder what the draw is. Well, I mean, I guess true crime stuff is super popular, right?
It's a big hot, especially
Yeah.
after the BBC, the CBC, and all of the ABC did all of their stuff, and now it's they're wanting to pitch it. But I guess I'm the main interest in a lot of it.
Interesting.
Well, because you think about it, I'm not a journalist, really, right? I have a personal story, a personal connection, and I'm kind of just a normal person. So I think that's why they're contacting me a lot. But I don't know. I got an entertainment lawyer. I'm just gonna let them figure it out. It's
okay,
it's kind of overwhelming. But yeah, so that'll be fun.
I see it. I can see it now. On the Hollywood strip, attractive blonde former shooter.
That's terrifying to me.
Going after the satanic death cult.
It's also
next
terrifying.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Would your
I guess I
secret
have
agent name
to,
be?
right? I guess I have to. But
yeah, of course.
It's crazy to me. So yeah, I mean, and I'm learning a lot about that entertainment industry and how that stuff works. Very touch and go and confusing. So
shit,
I don't know,
even
man.
know if I trust the entertainment industry either, but
no, definitely not. Nah, but there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of projects. I've got a BBC podcast coming out, I think next month.
Cool.
We've been waiting for that one to come out. They're trying to get it on the national Spotify circuit or something. I don't know how this shit works.
Yeah, I don't know how the UK works.
It's a podcast, but it's
okay.
So there's a lot of projects coming out. So you guys, if you follow me on X, I post all of that stuff and you'll be able to follow it along there. Follow along the fun, because at this point I just get to sit back and watch the fruits of the labor, I guess, come to fruition.
Well, good. I'm glad that this is where it's all heading, because it could have gone many different ways, and the fact that you have, you know, big players now behind you, it's awesome. So really
Yeah.
happy for you.
Yeah, well, I'm happy for you, thankful for you and other people who like gave me a platform when I was a nobody and like continue to be like supportive, because otherwise I would not have been able to do this. So I appreciate
Yeah.
it very much.
Well, it's my pleasure. That's for sure. Well, Becca, thank you very much for joining, and I hope to see you again soon. Let's not wait a couple years before you join the show again.
For sure. Anytime.
All right, and everyone, remember, in the description below, you can find her X account and her beacons, where she has all of her links where you can follow her, especially her Substack, where she has plenty of great articles about the work that she does over there. So it's probably the best way to support her. Akira the Don is going to be on the show tomorrow. We're going to be discussing his music and where he gets his inspiration. It's going to be fantastic. So thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time. Good night.